there to you. Jeff Cloud again, DVD number 4 of Reentry. Reentry Part 4, and today we're going to look at life skills, the Part B of that. So if you remember correctly, in DVD 3, we looked at life skills, the first part. We're going to look at some more life skill tools, if you will, of how we can live successfully on the outside by integrating these tools. They will help us on the outside to live life successfully. And that's what we at Crossroads Reentry Ministries are for. Of course, I'm Jeff Cloud. Feel free to call me on the outside. Don't call on the inside collect, because we don't receive collect phone calls. 704-499-1332. 704-499-1332. That could be an assistant when you call Crossroads Reentry Ministries, because we're filming in 2004. Currently, that's my personal cell phone at Crossroads, but I'm getting hundreds of calls a year from people coming out of jail or prison. I see somewhere in the fairly near future where an assistant comes in, and this phone will be given to the assistant. The phone number, Crossroads, boom, when you call in, you're liable to get an assistant. So don't be shocked if a woman answers or whatever the case is. Somebody besides Jeff Cloud, but they'll answer Crossroads Reentry Ministries if it's not me. And by all means, we exist for no other reason than to help people leave behind the incarceration lifestyle. How do you do that, Mr. Cloud? How does Crossroads Reentry Ministries do it? We do it by helping with any God-honored need other than legal. We're not lawyers, for example, but somebody asks us, say, how should I plead? No, we're not going to tell you that. We're not lawyers. But other than that, any God-honored need, we're there to help. Jobs, half the calls come in for jobs. Safe, sober place to stay, third of the calls come in for safe, sober place to stay. And other needs, IDs, meeting locations for AA, NA, you get the picture, whatever the other needs are that are out there. Mr. Cloud, I just got out of jail, I got nothing but paper clothes on. Those are needs, and we would work with anybody like that we can. One thing to do is do write us. If you haven't got a place to stay before you get out, you're going to need a safe, sober place to stay when you do get out. Feel free to write us, hopefully about 5 months before getting out, at Post Office Box 861, Huntersville, North Carolina 28070. The reason we want you to write about 5 months, if you write earlier than 5 months, you try to apply to places, they're not going to hold a bid for you that long. If you go less than about 5 months or 4 months, they have boards that meet to decide. Let's say they get 10 applicants coming out of jail or prison for 2 bids. They've got a board that meets and reviews the applications of guys sending in their application from jail or prison for that safe, sober place to stay, and they'll rank them, etc., so on and so forth. So that's why you want to be at about the 5-month mark, maybe 4-month mark before you get out, right? Crossroads. If you don't have a good, safe, sober place to stay, we should be able to help you. Okay. Now, part of what we do is help with life skills to make it on the outside. Resources, life skills, getting and staying sober, you name it. All the God-honored needs that people got, that's what we're about. What does Crossroads do on a daily basis? We go into jails and prisons. We teach classes. We're also probably different than most people that come in jail or prison teaching classes. We're available when you get out. Give us a call as well too. Now, so we're coming in to you through DVDs. Feel free to give us a call when you get out. We believe we can be a lot of help, particularly with jobs, okay, particularly with jobs. But today what we're going to look at again is life skills that will help one succeed on the outside. Now, if you remember our previous DVD, number 3, which was part A of life skills to make it successfully on the outside, we talked about 3 major tools, if you will, on how to live successfully on the outside. Just to give you one of them as a refresher: relationships, walk on the legs of trust and service. I can just hear everybody out there saying that along with me. Got it, Cloud? Got it, Cloud? All right, trust and service, stomping along life with a great walk. Trust and service, trust and service. Now, I'm going to talk to you about 3 other major life skills today that I believe can help you walk successfully on the outside. Here they are. Here's the first one. I call it a bag of apples. A bag of apples. A bag of apples. Bag of apples? What do you mean a bag of apples? Well, I've learned that in my quote-unquote devotional times, if I go to God with my bag of apples, He'll polish them all. Now, some of them don't need polishing. Some of them are rotted, and some of them just have a few spots. But if I bring him my bag of apples, he'll get them all right. There won't be any bad apples spoiling the bunch. You've heard it said, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Well, if I bring God my bag of apples, he makes them all polished. What do you mean by that, Cloud? This sounds weird, sounds bizarre, sounds out there. Well, let me explain what I mean by that. I've got 3 types of apples in my bag that I bring to God. And here, when I bring it to God, I just basically maybe lay on my bed or get someplace where it's quiet. I can be alone, and I come to God, and I say, I got 3 types of apples, God. I got bad apples, I got perceived bad apples, and I got good apples. All right? We'll say that again. I got 3 types of apples only. Bad apples, perceived bad apples, and good apples. And I want God to make sure all my apples are polished. Now, what do you mean by that, Cloud? Well, here goes. My bad apples are my own sins or my own wrongs. How might that look? Okay, I'm in a devotional time with God. I'm spending time alone with God. Hey, God, today I looked at that woman down the street about 5 or 10 seconds at her rear end, and I was lusting. And that's my bad, that's my sin, that's my wrong. I claim it. But I do know that you've promised me when I confess to you my sins, my wrongs, you're faithful and just, and you will forgive me of my sin and cleanse me from all unrighteousness. What have I just done? I've given him my bad old rotted apple. He's polished it up. He hands it back to me. Now we got a good apple back in the bag. Interesting. Well, there's that bad apple. And we all got those bad apples. And I think many times during the day. And I personally like it when I get about 3 major times. They last about the same length as my meals during the day. And I get along with God and I have those devotional times. This is how I start talking with him. Bad apples is the first one. But secondly, I bring him my perceived bad apples. My perceived bad apples. Whoa, key word there. Perceived bad apples. How could a perceived bad apple look? Let's make it like this. Jeff Cloud started Crossroads Reentry Ministry 7 years ago. I had this kind of expectation, if you will, that the way our organization might go is the same way other organizations might go. Namely, they start off in one local area and then there'll be somebody else that maybe expands it going other places. And so I had this vision of we start in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and down the line, 5 or 6 years, 4 years, whatever it was, somebody would come and say, hey, Cloud, we love what y'all are doing down there. We hear how powerful you are. I'm up in Raleigh. Will you help me start it up here in our area? Raleigh's about a 3-hour drive from Charlotte. And then somebody later down in Atlanta would do it. And you start to get the picture. It would expand like that nationwide. And it wasn't happening. So one day, a few months ago, I come to God and I say, God, here's a perceived bad apple. Looks like this thing ain't happening right. And if you catch that, I said perceived, and I'm very diligent to say that word to God, and here's why. When he's working in my life, which he is, it's all good. So when I perceive a bad apple, it's got to be a good one. So it must be a perceived bad apple. Why? He's got the higher perspective. I've got the man perspective, the human perspective, and he's got the God perspective. He is above us. He can see it all. He's outside of time. He's inside of time. What do you mean outside of time? Well, he knows the future. He knows the future, yeah. You just go look in the Bible, see some of the prophecies that were written thousands of years before they happened. You say, wait a minute, somebody gave this to man, and they had to know it. It must come from God. He knows time, and it's come to pass, and that's his signature. So God knows everything. So if he's letting something happen, he promises us this. If we're trying to walk with God, he promises that all things work out for our good. It's his promise. Okay, so I take him at his word. That means I must have a bad perception here, God. Now what happens is I lay back on that bed. Okay, God, here's Crossroads. It's not expanding like it needs to be. This is good stuff we're bringing. It needs to go nationwide. God says, I'm going to give you an answer. In my spirit, He says, I'm going to give you an answer in just a day or two. A day or two later, I'm in an incarceration facility, a jail. Day after that, I'm in a prison. What did they have in common? DVD player. God impressed upon my spirit, guess what? DVDs will get it nationwide very efficiently. Aha! That's why He was blocking the regional development. It would have taken a lot of time, a lot more energy. DVDs can go into tons of places. Tons of places. So now all of a sudden Jeff Cloud's multiplied by tens and hundreds and maybe even thousands. All right? But see, I came to God with that perceived bad apple, and man, did He ever polish it. Man, did He ever polish it. Here's why I let that delay be. Here's why it didn't go the way you expected it to go, Jeff Cloud. You see, Jeff Cloud's expectations looked like things weren't going the way they were supposed to be going. It was a perceived bad apple, and God polished it, handed it back to me, and said, here it is, it's a polished apple. Very interesting, Jeff Cloud, very interesting. Now, what is a third way? Or a third apple in that bag? Basically is this. The good apples. The good apples. The good apples. The good apples. Those are things that go the way that we think they should go, and they're good stuff. The good apples. God, my health today. Compared to most 54-year-olds, I'm in great health. I thank you for that. God, my family is intact and it's a good family. Thank you for that. God, I love my relationship with you. I thank you for that. That's a good apple. God, I love sobriety. Compared to what I was like as a practicing alcoholic over 20 years ago and the mess that went on with that lifestyle, thank you so much. You start getting the picture. I got a lot of good apples in my bag. A lot of good apples in my bag. Just in the last 24 hours, I tell you about rental houses, and I ended up selling one of my rental houses yesterday. The real estate broker called up. The day before, they had made an offer $10,000 below what I was asking. But I'd already told my real estate offer, hey, we're going to sell it by May the 15th. And of course, today it happens to be April the 30th. But I said, we're going to sell it. We're going to either sell it by May the 15th, or I've got a renter coming in, a good renter. And I said, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm not dropping the price in it. And of course, they made a lowball offer, $10,000 below it, and then boom, they came back the next day, and they said, we give full price. Now, that was a good apple. My house sold for what I asked for. It's a polished good apple. Thank you, God. All right. Now, with that being said, of course, I've shared with y'all that Jeff Cloud has to rent some houses, and this one happened to have been in the hood. And many of you guys know what I'm talking about when I say the hood. And of course, he had to sell it. He's going to flip it and try to get more into flipping things, that kind of thing, see how that works, maybe. On the side, just a little bit. Main gig, Crossroads, but of course, I don't get a ton of money from here, so I got to feed the family. That's one of the ways I do it. But that is a great, good apple that I thank God for. So if you catch that, I've come to God with my bag of apples. The bad apples. My own wrongs, my own sins, the things I've done that are wrong. Not other people's. God's never going to hold me accountable for what somebody else does wrong. And same for you. He's not going to hold you accountable for what somebody else does wrong. So really the only one He wants us to concentrate on is getting rid of our own bad apples, or our own wrongs. So I come to Him first with that. Here's my bad apple, God. Boom. He takes that. He polishes it up. If we'll just confess to Him and say, hey, God, I've done this wrong, that wrong, whatever the case may be. Second group of apples I present to Him. Hey, God, here's my perceived bad apples. My perceived bad apples. At Crossroads, we just looked like we were getting ready to have a woman teacher who was going to look like a perfect fit. Just one little minor detail. She was getting some workman's comp money, and her workman comp lawyer told her that if she took even a job that would pay her only 3 or 6 hours a week with Crossroads, it would jeopardize or compromise her workman's comp. And he said, don't do it, or you'll lose your workman's comp, or you'll be illegal. So we'd gotten all the way to the process. She was getting ready to come, as a matter of fact, to work with me this afternoon. Monday, she had to call and let me know, Mr. Cloud, I'm not going to be able to make it. That's a perceived bad apple. Why? God is sovereign, and for whatever reason, he stopped that process. Now, I didn't blow up and say, why'd you do me like this, and blah, blah, blah. The old Jeff would have. The new Jeff said, well, thank you for letting me know, because it was better to let me know now than we're a month into the process. Second thing is, do you know anybody else that might be a good fit? And she gave me 2 names of other people who, off the get-go, off the first part, seemed to be possible good fits. Now, I'll pick up the phone call next week. I phone and call them next week. I'll check probably 1. I may talk with 2, but I bet anything what will happen is one of those 2 will work up and be a great teacher. And for whatever reason, he knew something was coming in that other woman's life that may not be able to be around a long time or whatever it may be. And she needed to be legal, of course. So the perception is that seemed like a little bit of a bad apple, but I realized, hey, I've given it to God, and he's polished it up and says, hey, Jeff, trust me. I got the right one coming at the right time. Okay, God, it's in your hands, because I've given you that perceived bad apple, and you've polished it up. You've assured me in my spirit everything's all right. The third bag of apples, of course, with the third type of apple in that bag of apples is our good apples. We got a gazillion things to be thankful for. A gazillion things to be thankful for. What is a gazillion? It's a 1 with comma 000, comma 000, comma 000, and keeps going. You can repeat that process as long as you can possibly write. Cool. That's a big number. It is a big number. And that's how many things we got to be thankful for. What are some things I look back in the past I'm thankful for? Hey, the rock bottom of alcoholism in that old life. It was painful. Bam! But I understand now why God did it. You have to hit a donkey in the head with a 2x4 sometime to change his direction. And I'm using a nice word. Let me just go ahead and use the other word. You have to hit a jackass. That's what we say here in North Carolina periodically about a donkey. You have to hit a jackass upside the head with a 2x4 sometime when he's a stubborn jackass to get him to change directions. Bam! And that's what God had to do for me. He loved me so much. He let the pain be such that I would turn from running my way and killing myself basically in slow suicide with alcoholism and that lifestyle to turning and walking with God to be blessed. So I thank him for even the pain of my rock bottom. Whew. Some people can thank him, and I see this all the time in where I work. You know, Mr. Cloud, I'm really thankful I'm here in prison. Or Mr. Cloud, I'm really thankful I'm here in jail because God's put me in time out. I believe I'd have gotten killed out there. I kept running even just a week or 2 further. I'd have been killed. I'd been in a shootout. Somebody shot me up, blah, blah, blah. The way I was running, what we were doing, you know. So they realize they're thankful even for that. A man thankful for jail. Yep, thankful for jail. Thankful for prison. Why? Keeps them alive. Gives them a chance to turn to God, walk the right way. So there's your bag of apples, if you will. Bad apples, our own wrongs. Perceived bad apples, those things we perceive to be bad that come from the outside and other people. And then our good apples. What do we know that's good that God's given us? And when we do that, what starts happening is our perspective in life changes. Instead of being cynical and self-centered, all of a sudden it becomes, wow, I'm blessed. And guess whose life is better? One who realizes we're blessed. And we're all blessed. God gives us grace we don't deserve anymore. Okay, so there is the first one. That bag of apples. That's a major tool. I want to share with you another major tool in life. I call it playing the what if God game. I'm going to say that again. Play the what if God game. Okay? Play the what if God game. You ever had a major life catastrophe? Now, if you hadn't, there may be some guys watching me, teenagers, 16, 17, 20, but I can guarantee you this, you live long enough, you're going to have major life catastrophes. What do you mean by major life catastrophes? Deaths of loved ones. You're going to have sicknesses. You live long enough, it's going to happen. You live long enough, you're going to have vocational major issues. Well, how does that look in your life, Joe Cloud? Well, I've had my mom and dad die in sobriety and this new life I live in the last 20 years. I had my only son die at birth, and I'm going to share a little bit more about you with that just in a minute. So I've had major loved ones die in my life, okay? Aunts, uncles, etc., so on and so forth. But major loved ones, family members generally, that have died in my life in the past. How would it look health-wise? 2008, tail end of 2008, Jeff Cloud's eating pretty good. He's exercising well. He is doing what he's supposed to be doing to serve God pretty good. And he comes down with a heart attack. Oh, Mr. Cloud, that sounds bad. Well, heart attacks are rough. That's a major physical catastrophe. But we played a what-if game. We can see something in them. Matter of fact, with the heart attack, let me share this with you. 2008, 2007, 2008, Crossroads, we just had one little trailer bringing 3 or 4 guys coming out of jail and prison at a time, work with them. It was going to work with about 5 guys a year, 7 guys a year if you get the picture. 2008, Jeff Cloud comes with a heart attack. The reason God allowed it was this. Now, nobody there to run the house that the people were coming to jail or prison. Actually, it was a trailer. Nobody there to run the trailer. Well, guess what? You had to close it down. We got people coming out of jail or prison, nobody to oversee them. They could come and mess real quick. We had to close that down. But for 2 years, he got to run that trailer house ministry, if you will. And when Jeff Cloud heals from his heart attack, look what I've learned. Now, rather than go help 5 or 10 men a year, let's go on the inside and share with them what we've gleaned. Okay? And this is the product of it. So without that heart attack, Jeff Cloud's probably still out there running that one little house, helping 5 or 10 men a year. Last year, Crossroads served 2,000. I believe this year, as the DVDs go out, the years following, we're going to hit into the tens of thousands of serving, and maybe even the hundreds of thousands down the line somewhere. So the what if God, you see, God knows more, and that's what we do. What if God scenario. How does that look? The what if God scenario. The other major category of life, we had talked about death. We talked about major sicknesses, vocational crashes. Jeff Cloud had this happen. He was an engineer, and engineers make good money, by the way. He was an engineer 1983 through 2003, and then his engineering career collapsed, and it was weird. Everybody said he was a great engineer. The people working under him loved him. And we got a whole bunch of work coming at us, and then all of a sudden we didn't have the people to do the work. Trying to recruit them, for whatever reason, God was blocking them from coming. And it wasn't that it was the people loved working with me the rest of my career and stuff, loved working for me, learned a lot from me, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. But what God was doing was he was blocking Jeff Cloud's engineering career. Why? If you let Jeff Cloud's engineering career collapse, you can let his Crossroads Reentry Ministries career resurrect or come to life. One has to die, engineering career, full-time, for Crossroads Reentry Ministries to resurrect or come alive full-time. I see why he allowed that, Mr. Cloud. Okay, but during the time, it looked bad. It looked bad. But we can play sometimes the what-if game with God. Here's what I mean by what-if. Things look bad. Hey, God, why did you let Grandma die? Well, guess what? If Grandma's a believer in the gospel, death is the way to heaven. That is the big healing. She gets rid of this old body here, these sinful bodies, these carnal bodies, if you will, gets a glorified body, one that can be in the presence of God. Okay? So that's a good thing when you really think about it. Hey, heaven's way better than here. If you got faith, you know it is. Okay? Heaven's way better than here. So the what-if scenario. You know, what if? What if God's just promoting her to heaven? What if God's giving her the big healing? Everybody prayed for, didn't get no physical healing down here on earth, and she ended up dying. Oh, wait, whoa. God gave her the big healing. She got the big promotion. She got to go to heaven. Oh, that's the what if game. What if God's just simply moving her up to heaven? Now all of a sudden you see the major catastrophes can look like great things. Now how did that look in my life? Probably in the most painful thing in my life, or one of the most painful things definitely. My only son, on June the 6th, 1998, died the day he was born. He died the day he was born. So we're now in 2014, you're talking about almost 16 years ago. Now that's a bad thing, Mr. Cloud. Your only son died the day he was born. Yeah, and I grieved. And I really didn't grieve as much as I should. I should have cried and grieved more. But I did grieve. It was a bad thing. But through the years, what I've been able to do is this. I've put the what if God scenario to it. And let's just go down this route. What if God let him die so he would make heaven? What? What if God let him die at birth so he would make heaven? What do you mean by that, Cloud? Well, you know I'm a born-again believer. I believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. We put our faith in Christ as Savior. He died on the cross to pay for our sins. Lord, God raised him from the dead to prove Jesus equal to God. Therefore, we trust him as Savior and Lord. And that makes one right with God and heaven-bound, if you will. What if God knew this? My son, born and died, 1998, have lived with me here on earth, and let's make it go to 2048. So I get to live with him 50 years here on earth. Now, I was 38 when he was born, and I would be 88. Let's say Jeff Cloud dies in 2048 at the age of 88. Let's just say that that did happen. Now, what I would have got to do is walk with him 50 years here on this earth. My son would have been here, all right? But let's say he rejected the good news or the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, God says, according to the Bible, if a person rejects that gospel, they are hell-bound. Whew! Now, he lived 50 years here with me, and then, boom, Jeff Cloud heads to heaven. He dies a few years after that. Let's make it 30 more years at age 80. And he heads to hell for all of eternity. Jeff Cloud's in heaven, his son's in hell. Whew. But let's say that the what if, and I believe this is the way it is, an innocent, brand new baby that dies hasn't made the choice yet to sin or do wrong against God. Therefore, there's no punishment for them. They get a free pass, if you will, to heaven. Now, the rewards may not be as great as a Jeff Cloud for what he's done here on earth after becoming a believer, but they make it to heaven. Okay? They get a small mansion up in glory. Jeff Cloud gets a big mansion up in glory. But my son's with me for all of eternity up in heaven after both of us physically die here on earth. He did the day he was born. So let's say Jeff Cloud's 2048. All right? Now, which would Jeff Cloud want? 50 years with his son here, and then Jeff Cloud goes to heaven, his son goes to hell. All of eternity apart. Or would he rather miss the 50 years here, son goes to heaven, and Jeff Cloud goes to heaven in 2048? Guarantee that latter situation, that what I just said is what Jeff Cloud wants. Now all of a sudden the what if game gives me a whole different perspective on why my son died at birth. Whoa! That's a powerful tool in life, the what if God. And we're basically saying, let's think from God's perspective possibly. Death, maybe a passage to heaven. Death, on the other hand, is a warning to other people. Get right with God because it's coming. All right? Wow, Cloud, I never thought about that. Death is a good tool. Yes. Death is a good tool. All right? Gets one side to heaven and tells the other side you better get ready because there's going to be an eternity. And it's going to happen to you. All right? Wow, the what if God scenario. What if God scenario. Okay, we see that what if God scenario. That is another great way to get a great perspective on life. Now, if you catch that other way, the bag of apples, which I shared with you just a few minutes ago, that was one great tool to get a great perspective on life. This second way, the what if God scenario, I call it. What if God, boom, and let's start thinking about it. What if he allowed this for this? Hey, what if he allowed Jeff Cloud's heart attack so that the little small would be closed down to open up the big? What if? What if he let Jeff Cloud's career collapse, as I was seeing my career collapsing, because he's going to be building something better. He's moving me, he's promoting me. And we got to get out of the second grade before we go to the third grade. See what I mean? Those are great ways to look at situations. Then we're not looking at this as a victim. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. We're all bitter and everything in life. God doesn't want us to go through life like that. Or God, you let this happen. You let Grandma die. Everybody prayed for her. Well, guess what? Let's do the logic the whole way it would be. Let's say Grandma got healed at 90 physically, and healed at 120 physically, and healed at 180, and healed at 700. Eventually, Grandma would be like a raisin laying up on the gurney, all shriveled up. And we're still going to try to pray and keep her alive? Think about it. God knows what He's doing. He can be trusted. But those two major tools, the bag of apples and the what if God tools, are great for our perspectives. It helps us to have a great perspective in life. And if there's anything that's true, we need a great perspective in this life, guaranteed. Now, I'd like to share with you a third major tool, and I want to leave you with this tool. This will be the last one that I share with you today, the last one of the series. But it's this, the casket. The casket. Well, Mr. Cloud, you've been talking about death a lot. I've gotten real uncomfortable. Well, guess what? The worst life is the one that's not prepared for death. Be kind of like taking out on a trip, not knowing where we're going. Whoa, that makes a lot of sense. Somebody just jump out there in a car, don't know where they're going. I think everybody I've ever seen that uses logic and reason, we know where we're going, or at least we're going to head somewhere in a direction. But the point being this, I want to share with you, this story is done not to point to death, but it's done to point to goals, visions, dreams, plans, the things that will give us the great life. Here's what the casket is. Now let's imagine, I'm going to share with you, of course, Jeff Cloud got sober October 22nd, 1993. All right, that was his sobriety date. But let's say that he didn't get sober. More than likely what happened is about 2 years or less, Jeff Cloud would have died due to his alcoholism. Somebody shot him for running his mouth, or he died in a car wreck, whatever the case may be. It would have been cirrhosis of the liver, something along those lines. I don't think I had 2 more years of running the game in me. But let's say Jeff Cloud died then. Now, Jeff Cloud, just to sum it up, was, oh man, he's a bad guy. All right. Now, if he died, here would be his casket. Imagine, if you will, here's the casket sitting right here of Jeff Cloud. There's 12 people all together at his funeral. Why? 2 of them are paid, the preacher and the organist. All right? They're paid to be there. You got to have them to have the funeral, church funeral, whatever the case is, or funeral home funeral. And then he's got his mama there, because he's his mama. And then you got about 9 people there that are there to support the mama. About half of them are sitting there thinking, I'm glad that SOB's dead. He was a bad piece of crap. But I'm here to support his mama. All right? Now, if you get a picture of that, that's exactly where the enemy would have loved to have you. That was his plan, his vision, his dream, his goal. Okay? That was his vision, dream, plan, goal. Now, Jeff Cloud's vision, dream, goal, plan, just for simplicity purposes, let's make it the year 2048. I used that just a while ago. We've got another casket. Now, here's what goes on with that casket. Jeff Cloud's wife comes by, and Jeff Cloud's wife shedding a little tear, and she looks and kisses him on the cheek. He's passed away there. It's 2048. He was 88 when he passed away. She's still 88. The women have a tendency to outlive the men. She kisses him on the cheek. She says to the people around her, I don't believe there could have been a more godly man on the face of this planet, and God let me marry him. Whew. And then 2 daughters come by, and they got their children and grandchildren, been my great-grandchildren and stuff like that. But the daughters mainly, they come by, little tears in their eye. I don't believe God could have given me a more godly daddy than that man right there. And then there'll be some men coming by that were in prison or jail and were served by Crossroads Reentry Ministries. In 2048, they are running Crossroads Reentry Ministries. It's gone long beyond Jeff Cloud's years. And they come by and they said, that man right there came into jails and prisons to help us leave behind our lifestyle. And he never charged anybody he served a single penny. That was one great man. Whew. You're starting to get the picture. And oh, by the way, the casket is made at Angola State Prison in Louisiana. For my Louisiana people down there, you know what I'm talking about. Billy Graham's wife, Ruth, here in Charlotte, was buried in the same type of casket. They're made down at Angola State Prison. They ship them out for only about $250 cost to the funeral homes. Jeff Cloud was thinking two things. Even in my death, I'm going to help my wife. Now she doesn't have to pay $2,500 for a casket. She's going to pay $250. And then secondly, that $250 that goes for the casket goes to Angola State Prison for a fund. For example, if a man gets out there and has to go get a bus ride, nobody comes to get him to another part of the state to go to a holistic transitional housing ministry, someplace that's going to help him coming out of jail or prison. It pays for the bus fund kind of deal. So even there, he's thought out ahead. At his death, let's serve some others. That is where Jeff Cloud's headed for. Right now, Jeff Cloud's videoing this in 2014. So that's 34 years out there. What he's got to do is there's certain things he's got to put in place to get there. He can't be cheating on his wife and get there. He can't be not a man of his word to his children and get there. He can't be somebody who's lazy in what God's called him to do and get there. There's certain things that have to be in place. And what am I sharing with you? Goals, visions, dreams, plans have the end in sight, and we have to put proper steps in place to get there. I'm going to say that again. Proper goals, visions, dreams, plans have the end in sight, and we have to put certain steps in place from today to get there. We have to implement them with God's help, of course, and God's leading. Crossroads Reentry Ministries. The End DVDs going into jails and prisons. What steps have to be put in place? Somebody helped me to learn how to film like I'm supposed to. Boom, the help came there. Second thing, what do you do? How do you dress? What do you need to do to not be distracting? How do we do it? We can't go into incarceration facilities because if one man sneezes and he turns his head to where the camera sees it, he's like this sitting in a class. In jails and prisons, you can't release any films that are showing the side or front of somebody's head where they're identifiable. Work with people here at the church to get this nice facility and classroom to film these DVDs. That was another step. Some of the next steps that will come up. This is the last DVD in the series of 18 total I've made. There was one introduction DVD, and it goes to people in prisons and jails like programmers, Bible study teachers, stuff like that. It shows them an overview of what the rest of them are about. Then we had 5 DVDs for A Job and D Job, 8 for sobriety, and then 4 now for reentry. These DVDs. Some of the next steps that are going on, how do we get them into incarceration facilities and other places? And here's one of the key step that just came the other day. Facilitators are going to be how they have to go. So what we got to do is identify who the facilitators are and get them into their hands. Or the authorities in jail or prison. Or Bible study teachers that are going in that want to give so much more than just a Bible study. Bible studies are great, but by themselves they don't feed the man. By themselves they don't get him the job. By themselves, and you get the picture, keep him sober. These other needs, these DVDs can plug right in there with him. Now if you catch that, we're starting to see the steps that are out there ahead. What's the end product? Good Lord willing, these DVDs are nationwide in prisons and jails and places that help people when they get out of jails and prisons. And maybe even going beyond that. Homeless places, things like that. But the point being, we see the end from the beginning where we are. 2014. We see the end, expansion of Crossroads most efficiently from the beginning where we are in 2014. Certain things have to be put in place. Now, God has goals, visions, dreams, and plans for you. The enemy, Satan, Lucifer, serpent, whatever you want to call him, relapse, that old life, whatever you want to call the enemy, he's got a plan for you too. And his only includes three things: kill, steal, and destroy. Kill, steal, and destroy. Curse, if you will. Hell, if you will. His plan ain't good. It ain't good, no fashion, shape, or form. But God's got great plans for you. God's got a special calling that only you can walk in, and you either will or you won't. And goals, visions, dreams, plans is going to be a big part of that, especially when he bursts goals or visions or dreams or plans in you, then calls you to do them. He'll give you the power to do them. I sit here and scratch my head sometimes. Wow, I can't even believe what I do. Sometimes I can't. I can't even believe. I can't believe the impact we're already having. Thousands of men last year. I walked down the hall to Mecklenburg County Jail the other day. There was 3 different classes coming down the hall. So there was a string of men, about 100 long, going down an incarceration facility hall. And I was looking at every man as I walked by. I'm headed out of the building. I'm getting ready to go get in the elevator and go down. And they got an officer, hall officer with each one of them. And when I say each one in the group, so say 3 officers are out there. And those officers are seeing every man essentially. I know there was 1 or 2 or 3 that didn't know me, who I was, but even when they heard the others guys, Mr. Cloud, how you doing? And I can look in their eyes and they've got respect for Jeff Cloud. And I'm not bragging on me, I'm bragging on what God has done in my life, and I've found purpose and meaning and respect, because this man comes in and he brings real God help. All right? And I don't want you to miss that for your life. It may not be doing prisoner reentry. God's got a million different ways he can call you to, a million different things he can call you to. And some people think a calling's only the preacher. No, no, no. As a matter of fact, I don't think God even needs any more preachers right now. I think there's bigger callings. How do we keep those kids from walking in the life we did? It's incarceration lifestyle. Young kids. That's a huge need. That would be a huge calling. But goals, visions, dreams, plans. I want you to think the end from the beginning. That's how all good goals, visions, dreams, plans come into fruition. It's a process, and we got to do it step by step. The goal: stay sober one day at a time the rest of my life, so that I die one day sober. All right. Great goal, great vision, great dream. But Jeff Cloud's got to have certain things in place to be walking that way. When he was early in sobriety, 90 meetings in 90 days, the old timer said. Get you a sponsor, the old timer said. You see the steps I was having to take? Now he's about 20 and a half years sober. And really the only step he has to take now is maintain your spiritual condition. In other words, don't let your spiritual condition erode Jeff Cloud. You'll stay sober the rest of your life. And give freely of what you found. That's basically the only 2 things I got to do to really stay sober. And I'm doing them, so I do stay sober. All right? Now, the goals, visions, dreams, plans, they can be little short goals, little short time frames, or we can be looking at something lifelong. But I guarantee you this, the casket is the big one. Where do you want your casket to be? How do you want your funeral to look? You better think about it. Because if you don't do anything, the enemy's got a plan, and he'll have it painted out perfectly. He'll have it painted out perfectly. All right. Just as a review, the 3 major tools today have been bag of apples. Bad apples, our own wrongs. Perceived bad apples, those things we perceive from the outside. People doing us wrong, bad situations, stuff like that. They're all perceived bad if we're walking with God, because he said he works everything out for our good. The other 3rd apple that I give to him, my good apples. God, I'm thankful for my health. It's good. God, I'm thankful. Even a cold nowadays, I have to put that in the perceived bad apples bag. Man, I got this cold I've had in the past. Okay, in the past I had a cold, and it was like, okay, I put this in the perceived bag, because you know what? God, I give it to you. And I just wait a second, he tells my spirit, if you didn't have the cold, then good health's always going to be normal. If you go too far in normal, you don't thank me for your health. So guess what happens when you get a cold? God, I thank you for normal health. I'm feeling a little rough today. It's kind of what I did back when I had a cold. I'd say that. And I thank you for health. It helps me to be a little bit more thankful for health. So there's your bag of apples. You got the bad apples, you got the perceived bad apples, and you got the good apples. Okay? Then there was the other major tool, what if God? And then you fill in the blank. And we can get creative in our thought process. What if God allowed this because blank? What if God allowed my incarceration to keep me alive, to keep me from running the game out there that was going to kill me? Makes me look at incarceration a little bit different. You ever thought about it? Most of them call it Department of Correction. What are they correcting us to? Hopefully, if we're walking towards God, we realize, hey, I was walking opposite of God. This is part of the corrective process that I needed. The what if God scenario, and then the casket. Let's see the end from the beginning, and with God's help and power, put the proper steps in place to arrive there. Jeff Cloud in the casket, 88. Godly husband, godly dad, godly leader of Crossroads, which, by the way, keeps going with people who step in to take it over, and people that I've served, because they'll be the best. Been there and done it. They've been there and done it. All right? God's got great goals, visions, dreams, plans for you as well. Now, some of you have been with me the entire DVD series. I think you will have seen 17. You probably didn't see the introduction, which would go to programmers, etc., in prison and jail, but you were there for the A Job and The Job series DVDs. You were there for the sobriety DVDs. You were there for the Reentry DVDs. And I just want to close and tell you that it's been my privilege. I appreciate your ear, but more importantly than that, God loves you. God loves you. Enough for a man to put together everything you've seen on these DVD series right here and not charge you 1 penny. Why? Because His grace has never cost me 1 penny. And He says, give freely of what you find, and you will find true life. Receive freely of what He gives, and then give freely of what He's given. And we will find life eternal and life more abundantly. And now as I close, I'll close as I leave all of these DVDs. We've been blessed. Let's go be a blessing.